Hey, Shalom, Shalom. First off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI, Bahashem, Brachah HaKodash. Double honor to the apostles of Great Millstone. Honors to you brothers that are pushing the gospel of Yahweh, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI, in all sincerity, diligence, and truth. And peace and blessings be upon the house of David, which is the elect, the men, women, and children that are predestined to receive salvation and to be the first fruits of the kingdom of heaven, which is the kingdom of Israel. So, I was just doing some research, looking at current events, and I just was thinking about, the whole inflation that is going on, and now the Fed, the Federal Reserve is basically saying that, as you see here, Powell admits Fed got it wrong on inflation, says they should stop calling it transitory. Okay. So it says Powell explained what forecasters missed when trying to predict inflation. So now they're basically coming out and in a roundabout way saying that this inflation that we are, witnessing in Babylon and really throughout the world is not something that is going to be short term. Okay. It's not something that is just going to, happen and then just end up disappearing. But in fact that it's here to stay and really is going to grow even further. All right, which, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, the man of the Lord has been forewarning of inflation and hyperinflation, in Babylon the Great and in other parts of the world. Okay, because ultimately, whether or not they're, which we believe through the spirit that Esau is manipulating, the economy to bring basically a collapse so that they could bring in their digital economic system. But see, the thing is, when you watch what's going on in Babylon in America, all right, that beast whose deadly wound was healed, and you see the same scenarios that is happening here, which also occurred in occurred in the fall of the ancient Roman Empire. So I'm gonna read this, and I got a couple more things I want to touch. Lord willing, I'm gonna try to get through this quick. So it says Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell acknowledged Tuesday that he now expects high inflation to continue into the middle of 2022, stating that the government shall no longer push what had been a recurring slogan of it being, quote, transitory. And that's what they've been saying to try to be a soothsaying, all right, as the scripture says, saying peace, peace, really when there is none. Okay. All right. It's also written that what there is no peace, saith the Lord unto the wicked. So them using these words was them ultimately trying to appease and bring a false sense of security to the population, into the people, when now they can't, they're coming out and saying that it's not going to be transitory, when in all actuality it never was going to be transitory, and it's actually going to increase. The inflation is going to increase. All right, they're calling it. He now expects high inflation, and that also will lead through different scenarios and different, because we know that, as the scripture says, these are all the beginning of sorrows. So the Lord bringing more judgment, all right, more destruction to this kingdom, all right, as it is written, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and great kingdoms. All right. So we're prophesying against this kingdom, man. And we're prophesying in the power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, because the Lord has set forth for this place to be destroyed. And before he actually utterly destroys it, he's breaking it down, fundamentally. All right, and he has his prophets out here forewarning about these things, giving the decree about these things. And that's why in the scriptures it tells you that then shall they know that a prophet has been among them. Because see, people don't want to listen and take heed unto the words of the prophets because it doesn't appease their own feelings. All right, it doesn't align with their vain thoughts, as the scripture says. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? You see, but nonetheless, all the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai that he has put into the mouths of the prophets are going to be fulfilled. You see, so it would behoove an individual, especially of the nation of Israel, to take heed unto the words of the prophets. Ezekiel 33 verse 33. It says, when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come, then shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. Okay? So you're going to know that prophets were among you when the Lord brings to pass the things that the prophets are speaking. And we're not saying things out of our own vain opinion. We're speaking in the spirit and power of Yahweh through his son YAHAWASHI. All right, there's another scripture here. Where is it? Let me see. Let's type in here, forbear. I know it's in Ezekiel. Yep, let me get this one. Ezekiel 3 verse 20. Actually, no. Let me get the one in the second chapter. Ezekiel 2 verse 4. It says, for they are an impudent children, meaning unwise, all right, and stiff-hearted. I do send thee unto them, speaking to the prophet. All right, it says the prophets call, and the Lord has raised up numerous of prophets in these last days. All right, throughout the four corners of the earth. Verse 5. And they will, and whether they will hear or forbear, they will Salakia. And whether they hear or whether they forbear, for they are a rebellious house, yet shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. And how are they going to know that a prophet hath been among them? When the things that the prophets has been prophesying come to pass. Okay? That's when you're going to know. But then at that point, the ones who didn't take heed unto the warning of the prophets is going to be too late. You're going to get caught out there in whatever calamity the Lord has set forth for you to get caught into. Those that are for death to death, those are for the sword to the sword, those are for captivity to captivity, those are for famine to the famine. You see? Because when the Lord had his hand stretched out, when the Lord was calling, you refused. All right? You set at naught all of his counsel. So reading on, and I remember, man, brothers, the prophets, the elders, the teachers, the evangelists, all right, the men, that were commissioned through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to warn. I remember when we said that this ain't going to be transitory, okay? But yet our people wanted to smooth things. They wanted to hear the words of that are lies. So now what? Okay? Now what can you say about that? And what the message is here is not what the message is here is that it's not going to just stop right here, right? It's not going to just stop as it is now. This inflation is going to turn into a hyperinflation. So he says, reading on, during a hearing before the Senate Banking Committee, Powell noted that when the Fed said transitory, they do not mean it as just referring to how long inflation will last, as the average person might expect. Still, he said it is time to stop using the word. So now they want to backtrack. Now they want to, redefine what transitory mean. Come on, man. Okay, you devils are scrambling, man. All right, stand now with thine enchantments, because that's what that is. You using these words, all right, using these different buzzwords to entice into trick people. But now you can't, because you have what? You have truth that is prevailing in the times where you're trying to still push out lies and deceits, pursuant to 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter. So it says, so I think that the word transitory has different meanings to different people. Now let's see. Let's go to Transitory. Type it up. Let's see what it means. Okay? Transitory definition. Not permanent. Okay? Plain and simple. Not permanent. Short-lived, brief, short-term. Now he's saying that, well, we can't use that anymore because what? It's not short-term. All right? It's not short-lived. It's something that is permanent. All right? And the fact that you got various different businesses and companies and organizations raising prices and saying that these prices are going to stay, like a Dollar Tree raising their prices to 125, all right, from $1. Okay, you have other companies, I believe Chipotle, other businesses that has raised their prices. You go to a grocery store, you go to a restaurant, you see that prices have increased, man. You know, I was talking to a family member. They went to go get oxtail from the meat market, and they said last year it cost $8.99, and this year it was $15.99. So it went up almost 100%. Okay, it went up almost 100%. So that's not something that's transitory. That's a permanent. That's a permanent increase. It says Powell claimed later that the Fed will not sit idly by and let inflation continue to climb indefinitely. and ultimately, like I said in the beginning, this is something that is occurring because of prophecy. Everything moves at the drum of prophecy, man. All right. How else do you think they're going to institute and implement a digital currency, a digital payment system? They got to get rid of the old. So yeah, so why would you even believe at this point anything that comes out of this man's mouth? But yet you still got some of our people who are docile, who are sottish, who are simple, that are staying still or are leaning upon the broken reed of Egypt, man, which is that's going to pierce through their hand. It says, we will use our tools to make sure that higher inflation does not become entrenched, he said. In the Carter administration, the Fed jacked up interest rates as a mean of combating inflation, which ultimately worked. Powell admitted that the Fed was wrong in its prediction. Why? Why are you wrong in your predictions? What is the scripture in Isaiah? All right. It says what? I'm going to jump because this whole thing is good, but I'm going to jump here. It says, thou art wearied. Actually, start at 12. Isaiah 47, verse 12. Stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries. All right. Your lies, your trickery, your false pseudo magic, so to speak. Okay. Your smooth words, but really, as the scripture says, war was in your heart. It says, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth, because that's Esau's MO from the beginning, if so be that thou art able to profit, if so be that thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. So you're wearied in the multitude of your counsels. You're wrong here. You're getting grilled over here. Your Congress is grilling your scientists. Your scientists are just snapping back at your congressman. Your congressman is telling your Fed chairman, all right, your economic advisors that they're wrong. Y'all are all discombobulated, man. It says, let now the astrologers and stargazers, the monthly prognosticators, stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Why? Because no matter what, you're not going to be able to escape what is happening, man. All right? You're not going to be able to escape the judgment that is coming. Reading on, I think we can now, listen to this, I think we can now see Salaki, I think we can now see certainly through the middle of next year, Powell said, adding that forecasting is not a perfect art, as you may have noticed. So what happens when, next year comes, All right, the beginning of 2022 comes, which you already have certain analysts saying that prices are going to continue to rise 25, 35, 40% of your goods and services. So what happens when this comes and it's now even higher? It says Senator John Kennedy certainly noticed. I realize that no one is clairvoyant, but I think it's fair to say that the experts, all right, the keepers of the house, who have been advising you about the future rate of inflation have pretty much the same credibility. So nobody thinks you're credible anymore. Nobody trusts on you anymore. Hey, people of your own nation, of your own government doesn't believe you. Satan house being divided. As same as credible as those late psychic hotlines. Okay, you miss what was that lady name? Cleo. Okay, Miss Cleo. You see on TV, the Louisiana Republic said. Powell then explained that the ongoing supply chain issue plaguing the nation have thrown a wrench into their projections, which that because of this whole emic and this whole new variant, they're talking about things might shut down once again. So that's going to cause what? Even more strain on the supply chain issue that is happening right now. You see? So it says, so I think we missed the inflation. So I think what we missed about inflation was that we didn't predict the supply side problems. And those are highly unusual and very difficult, very non-linear, and it's very hard to predict those things, he said. But that's really what we missed. And that's why all of the professional forecasters, all right, your astrologers, your prognosticators, monthly prognosticators, right, your stargazers, had much lower inflation projections. They're not getting it right. Okay? They're not getting it right, man. But guess who is getting it right? All right? Guess who is getting it right? Because we're speaking the words of Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahawashi. And the Lord is undefeated, man. All of his words shall stand. What did Yahawashi say? Heaven and earth may pass away, but my words will never pass away. Now, when you go to the comment section of these, this is Fox Business, people ain't believing this guy. All right? And people are frustrated. They're getting, impatient with the government, with the politicians. All right? That's going to bring in what? Uproars of the people, sedition amongst men. As it is written, sedition amongst men, which, the Elder Tahar goes into that. You go into the word sedition. Says conduct or speech enticing people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch. You see? Sedition amongst men. People invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. Why would they regard their kings or princes when their leaders, they feel are inept? Their leaders are liars. Their leaders are always wrong. Their leaders are leading them to a position of greater difficulties. But they're doing that so that they can bring in, see, that's Satan right there. They took away the comment section. But they're doing that so that they can lead them to a problem reaction solution and bring in what? The new system of the Charagma, man. All roads lead to the MOTB. Okay? Let's see this. It says, hey, USA proud, 1962. So a person that's what, 59? 59. Let me word this differently for him. We lied. We knew it would be here as long as we followed the policies that the current federal government has put in place. Since people will only accept such a blatant lie for so long, we are now going to admit that inflation is here to stay for quite some time. The last time inflation went here, it became stagflation, and it took over a decade to recover from. So everyone be ready for the long haul. Inflation is here for years to come. And really the policies that this devil is implementing is really the same policies that they did in the first beast. Okay? The same thing. It says us older folks who have lived through a high inflation economic environment know what it will take to tame inflation and there will be great economic pain involved. The high level of the government debt, all right, and that they're also talking about that. Here it is. The U.S. is basically might default within the next 2 weeks. That's what the U.S. Treasury is saying. And you have this article here. I'm not going to read it. It says, but the title is, if the U.S. defaults on debt, expect the dollar to fall, and with it, American standard of living. And what happens when people's standard of living falls? They go into what? Panic mode. They go into chaos mode. They go into desperation mode, which the scriptures calls, as you see here in Second Esdras. Let me get that. Second Esdras chapter 15, a great tribulation. Second Esdras 15, verse 18. It says, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. Why? But shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Okay? And for great tribulation. Hold on 1 second. All right, and that it means what? Why is that going to happen? Because the standard of living that people in Babylon the Great, especially, are accustomed to, is going to be stripped from them, and that's going to happen at an instant, man. All right, you see how quickly all these things are happening, but the thing is, people are so distracted with the folliness, the cares of this life, the stupidity. All right, the distractions. What? Give them bread and circus. Same thing that was going on in ancient in the first beast. Give them bread and circus. While that was happening, the whole empire of Babylon, I mean of ancient Rome, was falling. Now I just I typed in Rome and the devalued dollar, right? It says currency, and this is what came up: currency in the collapse of the Roman Empire. And the currency played a part. Okay, inflation, which turned into hyperinflation, played a major part in the collapse of ancient Roman Empire. And then you have similarities happening here. Why you think in the scriptures it tells you what? That the deadly wound, let's get it real quick, of the first beast was healed. Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. It says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. He had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, which this beast system is speaking as a dragon right now with all of their different measures. All right, you just had Canada. Let me type that up real quick. Restricts air travel. Let's see what comes up. Should just pop up right now because that was some breaking news that just happened. Let's see. And here we go. Let's see. No, it got to be up here somewhere. Still like Canada. So bear with me. I'm definitely seeing the, here we go. No, this isn't. That's an older one. But Salakia, because I definitely there's definitely an article on it. Here we go. There we go. The YAHAWASHI YAHAWASHI. So this came out today. Unfinessed travelers barred from planes and trains as of today. Okay. Unfinessed travelers over the age of 12 won't be able to board a plane or passenger train in Canada beginning today, and a negative test will no longer serve as a substitute for most people. So if you don't have the juice in Canada, you can't go on a plane, whether that's domestically or internationally. If you don't have the juice in Canada, the country, you can't go on a train, whether domestically or internationally. Well, I don't think there's an international train, but domestically. And that's ultimately the draconian measures that this devil is taking, and you see it coming more and more within the whole beast system. And understand and best believe that it is going to also take place here in America, man. It's only a matter of time, and the time is short. So reading on back in Revelation 13 and 12, and he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, which was the ancient Roman Empire. This beast is speaking about Babylon the Great, okay? And along with Babylon the Great, the NATO and the EU, because Babylon or the whore rides upon the beast. So it says, and causes the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. See, because Rome, it fell, but it didn't die totally. All right, it didn't die totally. It didn't, because its culture, its political system, its financial system, its institutions, its entertainment systems, all those things are alive and well today here in America, man, and throughout the Western, as they call Western civilization. You see? But guess what is also alive and well? The currency, the way the currency is, okay? You see the ancient relics of coins in Rome. It's the same thing you see the coins on here. The faces, the what they call it, the busts of the presidences, which is nothing more than just the emperors of ancient Rome. But now listen to this. Let's read this. Currency in the collapse of the Roman Empire. So it's like a infogram of the Roman Empire and what happened. So I'm going to read this through. It says, at its peak, the Roman Empire held up to 130 million people over a span of 1.5 million square miles. Roman Empire 117 AD. Rome had conquered much of the known world. All right, Babylon, the Babylon the Great, America conquered the whole world. All right, along with the beast. It says the empire built 5,000 miles of roads as well as many aqueducts, amphitheaters, your modern day stadiums, and other works that are still in use today. That are still what? In use today. Today, our alphabet, calendar, languages, literature, and architecture borrow much from the Romans, the deadly wound being healed. Practicing what? Exercising all of the power from the first beast, which was before him. Okay, and causeth the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast. All right, to love, to be in what's the word I'm looking for? Ah, man, it just slept me. But basically, to be in awe of the things of the Roman Empire. Okay, your stadiums, like I said, the literature, as they're saying here, the literature, the calendar, okay, which is the Gregorian calendar. All right, the architecture, which you see all up and down, Washington D.C. and different various major cities. I can close this out. All right. So that's the understanding of the first beast. That's the second beast. All right, exercising all the power of the first beast. It says, even concepts of Roman justice. So yeah, that's it. The judicial system, the political system is all borrowed all of the first beast because it's the same people, okay? Which when they came back into power during the Renaissance, aka the Rebirth period, that's what they did. They wanted to revive the first beast because that was the height of their rulership. It says even concepts of Roman justice still stands tall, such as being innocent until proven guilty. Hey, you had Paul spoke about that. All right, that a person couldn't be put to death before he gave an account of. Let's get that real quick. He couldn't be put to death before he gave an account of accusers. Before he gave an account of what he's being accused of. Acts 25, verse 16. And Paul was in what? The Roman, right here. To whom I answered, it is not the manner of the Romans to deliver any man to die before that he which is accused have the accusers face to face, which is why you go to court. All right. Which is what they call your due process. You have a right to an attorney. You have a right to a fair and speedy trial. They got that from what? The Romans. Before that which the accused have the accusers face to face, you have your prosecutor, and then you have your defendant, and have license to answer for himself concerning the crime laid against him. You go up on stand, all right, to defend yourself. They showed you that with Kyle Rittenhouse and him, crying, looking like a effing butthole, okay. But that's what they got from what? The Romans. The Roman Empire, which is the same people. All right? The scriptures are true, man. We're living proof of it. It says, how could such a powerful empire collapse? The Roman economy. Trade was vital to Rome. It was trade that allowed a wide variety of goods to be imported into its borders. These are the different things that it traded. All right. And you see that same thing with America. America is the number one imported country in the world, man. All right. The number one imported country in the world, which is how the nations got rich off of America. Why in the book of Revelation 18 chapter, it says that the merchants are going to be America, because of the destruction that they see. Revelation 18 verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. And standing afar off from the fear of her torment, because ain't nobody going to get close to this lake of fire, which is known as Babylon, which was known as Babylon the Great. So they going to see this place being completely, utterly destroyed, man. And that's going to be a great and terrible day. It's saying at last, that great city, Babylon, which is not the Vatican, okay? It's not the Vatican, man. It's America, which we're clearly showing, all right? Which is clearly being seen. That mighty city, for in 1 hour, the Vatican is not a mighty city. But Babylon the Great is, aka the superpower of the earth. For in 1 hour is thy judgment come, and the merchants of the city shall wail and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise any more. And he goes into the different things that America produces and the different things that America buys in. Well, really, America imports these things, and then America sells it to the various different corporations, because America is a corporation in itself, and it has corporations within it, and it sells these different things that it imports from other countries to these different corporations, and those merchants resell those things. That's what's happening here. Okay, yeah, the laptop that I'm doing this lesson on, it came from China. Your phones come from China. All right, yeah, everything's made in China, made in Taiwan, made in Vietnam, and they import it here, and then those corporations, those big corporations, they resell it to merchants, stores, malls, department stores, so on and so forth, grocery stores. And those are the merchants that are getting rich off of the things that America imports. All right. So going back, it says 200 AD, trade in the Roman Empire. The things that were traded, it's slave trade. Roman Empire main trade route, slave trade, goods trade. Hey, and it says that in Revelation, because even here in America, you had what? You had the souls of men. Okay, people are being traded. You got, and I'm not even talking about the black market, because that's a heavy, heavy thing in America, man. All right, human trafficking, and it's mainly of Israel, the Israelites. Trade generated vast wealth for citizens of Rome. Going back to what the reselling or the remerchant. However, the city of Rome itself only had 1 million people, and costs kept rising as the empire became larger. Administrative, logistical, and military costs kept adding up, and that's something that they always are doing, man. They always are spending more in for the military, spending more on weaponry. It says, and the empire found creative new ways to pay for things. You build back better program, where it was that $3.5 trillion plan. Where's that money coming from? You're gonna see. Along with other factors, this led to hyperinflation, a fractured economy. All right, the super rich, the one percenters, the super, the what do they call it, the high, the Salakia, the upper class, and then you got the poor, because the middle class is the poor, because everybody in the middle class is just one paycheck away from being a poor. So that's a fractured economy. All right, localization of trade, heavy taxes, and a financial crisis that crippled Rome. Heavy taxes. Got this right here. Not gonna read it, but the headline came out earlier this month. Biden's Build Back Better will hike taxes on 30% of middle class families. All right, heavy taxes. So you thought those stimulus checks was just them giving out free money? No, them giving out that money was really actually just devaluing the dollar. And then on top of that, because of the dollar is devalued, they now have to what? They have to try to recoup that by doing what? Taxing the people. Roman debasement. The major silver coin used during the first 220 years of the empire was the denarius. The coin, between the size of a modern nickel and dime, was worth approximately a day's wages for a skilled laborer or craftsman. So one of these coins was worth a day's wage. Now, when you go to Revelation, the 6th chapter, it tells you about the famine and how that people, let's just get it, how that the famine and the devaluation of the dollar basically was going to be so bad, or hyperinflation, you can say, that it says here, Revelation 6, verse 6, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts saying, a measure of wheat for a penny. Now, when you go into that word penny, is what? Denarius. Or the denarion, which we just read. That's a plural word, or singular word, I believe. Singular, let me see. All right, so denarion was a singular, and denarius was meaning, was the plural, right? So a measure of wheat for a penny, or a denarius, and now we know that a denarius in the time of the Romans, one denarius was approximately a day's wage for a skilled laborer or craftsman. So it says, measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures or 3/4 measure of barley for a penny. So that's what? That's famine right there. That's hyperinflation. See thou not hurt the oil and the wine. That's speaking about the knowledge and wisdom that we have through this word, man. Okay, that's not going to be hurt during the time of famine. All right, and because we have that knowledge and wisdom, that's the Lord is going to provide for us, pursuant to Psalms 37, when this inflation and hyperinflation kicks off. The ones who have that knowledge and wisdom, that oil and wine, the Lord is going to, they're not going to be ashamed in that time. Um, where is it? Psalms 37, verse 19. They shall not be, I start at 18. The Lord knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever, the first fruits. And through the first fruits, the whole house of Israel. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, bad time, and in the days of famine, they shall be satisfied. Why? Because they have that oil. Okay? They have that knowledge and wisdom. And Job, it tells you what? That thou shalt laugh at famine. Thou shalt laugh in the time of famine. Let's get that as well. Job 5 verse 20. In famine he shall redeem thee from death, and in war from the power of the sword. Jump to 22. At destruction and famine thou shalt laugh, neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth. That's right. Why? Because they have, the elect are going to have that oil that's not going to be hurt. So going on, it says, during the first days of the empire, these coins were high purity, holding about 4.5 grams of pure silver. However, with a finite supply of silver and gold entering the empire, Roman spending was limited by the amount of denarii that could be minted. This made financing the pet projects of emperors challenging. How was the newest war, thermae, palace, and circus to be paid for? The same thing, what? Your infrastructure, okay? Paying for roads, paying for the schooling system, all of these different pet projects. How's that going to be paid for? Your Build Back Better plan, $3.5 trillion, when the economy is already defaulting. All right, the U.S. Economy is about to default. How are you going to spend another $3.5 trillion when you're already $28 trillion in debt? Romans officials found a way to work around that. By doing what? By decreasing the purity of the coinage, they were able to make more silver coins with the same face value. With more coins in circulation, the government could spend money, aka helicopter money is what they call it now. Just printing more dollars, pumping more dollars into the system. That's what the Fed is doing. Continuously pumping money into the system is doing what? Is devaluing the currency. And so the content of the silver dropped over the years. So just replace silver, because that's real money, silver and gold. But what is money now? That's fiat money. That's these US fiat dollars, man. The Federal Reserve note. So replace that, what you see here in Rome, replace that with the US dollar. The content of the dollar dropped over the years. And you see and that's why things that were, you can get a loaf of bread back in the 80s for, whatever, $1.50 or whatever. Now it's $4. A gallon of milk, in the 90s might have been $2 and now it's $5.39. All right. A dozen of eggs back in the 70s might have cost, a dollar, and now it's $6. Because what? The dollar has been devalued. Same thing they did during the Roman time. And this is the different emperors that did this. So by the time of Marcus Aurelius, the denarius was only about 75%. By Caligula, it was he doubled the value of it, and it only had the weight of 1.5 denarius. By the time of Gallienus, the coin had barely 5% silver, so it was damn near worthless. The consequences. The real effect of the debasement took time to materialize. But see what's happening here in Babylon, the Lord is what? He said that he's speeding up this times, man. All right? That America, the triumphing of the wicked, is short. Job 5 verse 20. Salakia. Job 20 verse 4. Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed on the earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment? Okay? Hey, Yahushua said what? That I seen Satan fall as lightning from heaven. Because of us, the men that are sighing and crying for the abominations, the Lord said he's going to speed up the days for the elect's sake, right? So that means that all the consequences of this time period is going to happen quicker. All right. All of the plagues that are going to hit this Rome, this second beast, are going to hit quicker. Yahweh said that this generation shall not pass till all be fulfilled, which is why we're seeing such a quick inflation and devaluing of the dollar and all these different things that are leading to the collapse of America happening in such a short span of time, man. That's why Yahweh said, "Behold, I come quickly." Okay. Adding more coins of poorer quality into circulation did not help increase prosperity. It just transferred wealth away from the people. Your dollar doesn't go long enough now. Why? You know, what is it? Salakia. Oh man, just a brain fart. Why the used cars? The used cars are now so much. All right. Why rent is skyrocketing at an all time high. Okay. In my city where I live, there's an apartment complex where back in 2018 I was looking to move there, and it was about $1,600 for a 2 bedroom, and now it's $4,000 for that same 2 bedroom, man. $4,000. 3 years ago in 2018, it was $1,600. That's how wealth is being transferred away from the people. It says, and it meant that more coins were needed to pay for goods and services. That's right. At times, there was runaway inflation in the empire. For the example, soldiers demanded far higher wages as the quality of coins diminished. And now, not just soldiers, because what are real soldiers in a capitalistic society? Employees, the people that are working, right? Because back then, soldiers were like the main people to pay. But in the capitalistic society that we live in, and because it said the consumers are the ones who could keep the economy afloat. Now that's why you're seeing so many people not wanting to go to work because they are demanding higher wages. All right, why do you think the hospitality industry can't find workers? Because they're demanding higher wages. That's why you have not relapse the McDonald's now starting off at $15 an hour. The minimum wage is going to $15 an hour. I don't know if it's federally, but it might be. I'm not sure. But that's happening. Why? Because the money that people are having are diminishing. The quality of the financial of the currency of the U.S. dollar is diminishing. So you can't get off just living off of a minimum wage of $7.25. That needs to be doubled because the goods and services are doubling. Okay? It says the effects with soaring logistical and admin costs and no precious metals left to plunder from enemies, the Romans levied more and more taxes against the people to sustain the empire. To build back better, what we just read is going to add taxes. Hyperinflation, soaring taxes, and worthless money, fiat money, worthless money, just like the US dollar, created a trifecta that dissolved much of Roman trade. The economy was paralyzed. By the end of the 3rd century, any trade that was left was mostly local, using efficient barter methods instead of any meaningful medium of exchange. And that's ultimately what they're about to do and bring in a new medium of exchange, which is going to be what? That digital currency, your CBDCs. Why do you think all of these various different central banks are talking about digital dollars, digital currency? Because your US dollar, all right, or your what is it in your euro coin or dollars is not worth anything no more. And they're actually creating this so that they could bring in a new system. But the Lord is not going to allow these devils to implement that fully. To not to feel the relief of having that new system, because the Lord said when he's about to fill his belly, he's going to get strike through. Okay? And the Lord knows that his elect ain't going to be able to live in a society where they can't buy and sell. Okay, because in a capitalistic society, how else how else are you going to survive? We gotta buy. We can't grow our own foods and plant our own gardens and grow our own orange trees and all these things. So the Lord is going to intervene, man. But yet these things are going to take place, and you can clearly see that it's going in the same fashion as ancient Rome. As the scripture says, there's no new thing under the sun, right? And the same thing is happening then. And it's the same thing was going to end up the result of what happened to what they were debasing the currency in Rome. That result was a collapse, and it's going to be the same thing here. All right, same exact thing. The empire was in a free for all and split into three separate states. And the same thing you got here. You got what? Biden country. You got Trump. Republican country, Democratic country. All right, then you got people that's just in between, just not knowing and not having a damn clue what's going on. Mainly Jake. All right, barbarians invasions came from every direction. Plague was rampant. All right, all these different variants. Trade networks was disintegrated, and such activities became too dangerous. Coin debasement and inflation lead to the demise of the Western Roman Empire, which would cease to exist by 476 A.D. All right, so hey, we can clearly see the same things are happening now, man. Okay, same things are going on right now, and I had a lot of scriptures, but for time's sake, I hit the main things that I wanted to get into. But I just get this here in Jeremiah 51 verse 8. It says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take balm for her pain? If so, she may be healed. Okay? We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgments reach unto heaven and is lifted up even unto the skies. So there's no hill in this place, man. Nothing that Esau is going to do or try to attempt to do. Well, ultimately, he's trying to bring in a new system, but that's not even going to heal it. Okay, because the judgment is set. The judgment is set. Babylon the Great is going to be destroyed. But before that utter destruction comes, you're going to witness terrible tribulation times, man. All right? Times as never before. All right, infographic, that's what it was called. Okay? Here we go. Ecclesiasticus chapter 10 verse 1. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. As a judge of a people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, and we know what manner of man Esau is. The scripture tells you that two manner of people will be separated from thy bowels, talking to Rebecca. Okay, and Esau is just a vagabond, man, a fugitive. Okay, he's the basis of man. So his kingdom is going to be the basis of kingdoms. Such are all they that dwell therein. An unwise king destroyeth his people. All right, what is that saying? Those that fell to know history are doomed to repeat it, or something like that. Esau is doing the same thing that he did during the ancient Roman Empire, his last rulership, and it's going to lead to your same demise, man. That's how simple and docile and dumb Esau is. But all of your craftiness and sorcery, all right, and all of your as the scripture says that that your wisdom has perverted you, you can't even realize that you're doing the same thing that you did back in ancient, the first beast, which ended up causing the fall of your ancient of your last empire, man. All right. So an unwise king destroyeth his people, and Esau is an unwise king. Ultimately, because he doesn't institute any of the righteous ways of Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahawashi, and he promotes wickedness. Okay. And that's why the Lord said, the scripture says in the same chapter, what? Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. And what? Esau is the end of this world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, man. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna end it there. Hey, Lord willing, this was edifying unto the elect, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahawashi, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Till next time, Shalom.